Welcome to part 13 of my video series showcasing all the crystals and minerals I've collected up to this point. It's been a long journey, but this is the last one, last video. So I'm just going to do the rest of my specimens. We've been going through them alphabetical order, starting with the letters S through W. Not any of the other letters, because I don't have like Y, X, Z, all that. I just don't have anything that starts with those letters, so it's going to be from S to W. So let's just get on with it. So we're going to start off strong with this sapphire growth with biotite and garnet specimen. So this is the sapphire. And what is sapphire? Well, it's corundum. Red corundum is ruby. And then you get sapphire, which is usually blue. But it's like the same thing just as a ruby, just blue, except for it can really actually be any other color. And it is, like, there's pink sapphires, there's yellow sapphires, green, peachy. Sometimes they've got more than one color. Like, I know that there's this really famous and really expensive sapphire that comes out of Sri Lanka that is like phenomenal. I'll show you a picture of it on screen. But yeah, so this variety that I have is purple sapphire. So it's a little bit different, a little bit more rare. This comes out of Madagascar. And yeah, beautiful, just beautiful. I love it. Because yeah, you got the sapphires here, but then we have these little spots of red. That's the garnet. So it's just got like a sprinkling of garnets too, all around it. And then we also have biotite. So what is biotite? Biotite is a type of mica. So I've spoken about mica before in this video series. And yeah, it's just a form of mica. So the next specimen I have is very common and very well known and very popular. And that is my satin spar specimen. Most people call this selenite. This is not selenite. It is satin spar. It is different, yet very similar because they're both a form of gypsum, but they are separate, right? They are separate crystals. Selenite isn't as common as satin spar. Satin spar is very, very common, and you see these carved all the time. Like, you see them carved into towers. You see them sold as like almost like big logs. This is like, I guess you would say, a stick of selenite. But it's just cut from like a crystal, right? Probably a larger crystal. And yeah, these grow big, these grow huge. But, you know, I just like the small little one. I don't need to go all crazy. The difference that you can tell between satin spar and selenite is transparent, whereas satin spar is not. And it's more like translucent. And it's also got a really nice cat's eye to it. So it may be very common, but it's very, very pretty. I also wanted to point out that it only comes in white. Okay? Satin spar is not colored in any other way. So if you see colored cat's eye, satin spar, it's either dyed or completely man-made fake. Just putting it out there. Then I have something that you could compare the difference with satin spar with, and what this is, which is this selenite with gothite inclusion specimen. So selenite is usually just clear and transparent, except for when it's full of inclusions of other, minerals and material. And obviously gothite inclusion. So this is what happens with when it has gothite. You can see the gothite through it, but you could still see through it, just not at that gothite area. So yeah, this is what selenite looks like compared to this satin spar, which has got fibrous sort of formation to it, which creates that cat eye look. And then I have my other selenite with lemonite inclusion specimen. So I really love this piece because the lemonite creates this very golden look to it. This comes out of Spain, by the way. And yeah, I just love these little mountains of selenite. So even with the lemonite, you can still clearly see that without the lemonite, it would definitely be completely transparent. But yeah, so it could be colorless or have inclusions that create a tint of color or, you know, an opaqueness to it. So I also wanted to point out and mention to be wary, though, of big slabs of pink selenite because it has been found that this is dyed for the most part. Not that it doesn't exist, pink selenite. Like it could be colored, but these slabs, these big slabs that were going around for a while there, were found to be dyed selenite. So just be a little bit wary if and when you pick up selenite that's maybe colored in a certain way. All right? All right. So now the next specimen is definitely an interesting one, and I'll explain. So next I have this serpentine specimen. So I, for the longest time, didn't know what this was. Well, not me personally, my kid. Me and my kid were camping, and he found this. And he used to, when he was younger, like to collect just random rocks. He was a collector before I was. And I never really took notice until later when we got back home. And I kind of looked at it, I was like, that's just kind of weird. Like this blue patch, I'm like, that looks different. And so I've been taking it to different rock mineral shows, then to Mindat to try to figure out what the hell this was. Eventually, I was informed that this is serpentine, that serpentine actually does come in blue, which is just crazy. I didn't know that. I thought it was only in green. But it does come in blue, and this is a big chunk of serpentine, believe it or not. So yeah, this is a find because it's huge, right? But yeah, interesting color, interesting blue color, eh? Yeah, quite different. And yeah, so serpentine has been around and known about for a long time and is actually considered to be one of 6 minerals supposedly to be essential for the emergence of life on Earth, like part of that category where it helped to create a habitable planet. I don't know exactly how that all goes, but yeah, supposedly that's what is purportedly shown to be in, I don't know, I guess earth sciences. So next specimen I sort of almost referenced it in terms of when I was talking about my hemimorphite and how sometimes hemimorphite can be almost confused with this one sometimes because they can look very similar. And that is this Smithsonite specimen. So if you watched my other video, you'll see what I'm talking about. Because the blue and just the way that it's sort of crusted together, and it usually comes on very similar matrices. So it can be confused with it. So yeah, but this is what Smithsonite is. This is a gorgeous piece of Smithsonite, by the way. Very high quality. It could come in a wide variety of colors. Obviously blue. It could be colorless, but gray, brown, white, yellow, green, pink, purple. So wide variety. And obviously this is blue, and it's such a vibrant blue. It looks like the Caribbean Ocean. And not just because of the color, but because of the shine. So if it hits the light just right, and if it's really high quality, like this, it looks like water. It looks like moving water, right? When you kind of like spin it or, you know, turn it. And that's why I picked it up, because it was just so beautiful. I love this piece. So Smithsonite is often found as a secondary mineral in the oxidization zone of zinc ore deposits, or it can also be observed in sedimentary deposits, or a direct oxidization product of salarite, believe it or not. Then next I have my smoky quartz specimen A, so not my only one. And it's just a variety of quartz, smoky quartz. but due to certain inclusions, turns the clear quartz into this nice smoky color. People refer to this variety of form of smoky quartz as allustrial smoky quartz sometimes, and it's just the form that it takes, the way that it grew, where it almost looks like there's a hole in it. And it's this kind of shape, but it also looks like it has holes in it, but it's not. It's a window, so it is not a hole. It's just the way that it formed and how clear it is. It does look like that. If there was a hole, because that does happen, that does occur, that's called skeletal quartz, but this is allustrial. And yeah, so obviously I have my other smoky quartz specimen B. So as you can see, this looks a little different, right? Well, that's just because it's almost just kind of like points, right? Well, basically it is points, and the smoky color looks a little bit different too, and that's because the inclusions are probably very similar to amethyst, because it looks like if there was any lighter, almost it would be amethyst. So different versions of smoky, but still smoky nonetheless. And next is definitely a statement piece, and that is my smoky quartz specimen C. As you could tell, this thing is huge. And this comes out of Brazil, which again is known for its quartz. And yeah, these points are incredibly huge. It's incredibly big. I can barely fit it on camera. And actually it has phantoms. So I'm going to try to have it show up. But they're not phantoms of different inclusions. Like sometimes you'll get like an amethyst smoky. This is just smoky, like smoky phantoms within smoky, so no different, right? Except for just happen to have some sort of environmental shift external to it that, you know, created the phantom. I've talked about phantoms before, but the inclusions never changed, right? So it just kept growing after that sort of stunt that showcases itself in a phantom. So yeah, just incredible, beautiful piece. Then I have my still bite specimen. So still bite comes in colors ranging from white, cream, to peach, to pink. And yeah, kind of looks like wheat sheaves, at least to me. Does it? I mean, I think it does. So it's part of the zeolite family alongside heulandite. In fact, way back in the day, heulandite and stilbite were thought to be the same mineral. It was only like sometime in the 1800s, I think, that it was separated and recognized as two separate minerals. So they're very similar, and they are part of the zeolite family. It's usually found alongside apophyllite, actually, a lot of the times. But yeah, very, very pretty. It's got a pearly look to it, and actually is usually quite cheap. So if you're looking for picking up some minerals that are different, unique, but aren't going to, you know, break the budget, stilbite is definitely one to look out for. So one specimen that will break your bank, if you manage to even find it, is this next specimen. That being my tarbutite specimen. So tarbutite is extremely rare. You're probably not going to find it on the market. It's probably just as rare as veseliite, which I've shown before, and probably one of my more rare specimens of minerals and crystals. So yeah, it's really pretty though, really sparkly. It comes in white, colorless, yellow, and green. And obviously this is a pale green. And yeah, it's found only in Africa, I think in Zambia and Namibia. This one I'm pretty sure is from Namibia, from the Scorpion Mine. Yeah, there's very, very limited places where it can be found. But yeah, definitely a beautiful piece. And yeah, it is a rare secondary zinc phosphate. So yeah, definitely beautiful and definitely different. Then next is my Thompsonite with heulandite growth specimen. So I've already previously sort of talked about Heulandites when I was talking about Stilbite and how they were of the same zeolite group. Well, Thomsonite is also in the zeolite family. It can be the color brown, green, red, pink, gray, white, yellow. It's got bladed prismatic crystals or comes in fibrous masses. So obviously this is a fibrous mass, and it has an eye. What that means is that if you cut this in half, there'd be I think you could see here, there's an eye to it, right? And then the fibrous crystals sort of grow outward, so it resembles almost like little puff balls, which is kind of funny. I don't know. I just liked that aspect of it. And obviously this right here is the Heulandite. Okay, so next is a very popular crystal, very well-known crystal, if you're a crystal collector, and that is my tourmaline specimen A. So this is black tourmaline. Black is definitely the most common of the tourmalines. There's also shoal tourmaline that is shoal because it's shaped almost more cubic, but it's usually these elongated crystals that are most well known. Tourmaline is a crystal that is comprised of trigonal borosilicates of the cyclosilicate superclass. And yeah, so it, like I said, it is shaped in this elongated sort of structure, this crystal. And yeah, it's shiny and pretty. And even though it's fairly common, I love it. It's found a lot of times in quartz too. So you'll hear tourmalated quartz, right? And it's usually black, right? Tourmalated, because it does come in different colors. However, like I said, black is most common, but the colors range in all varieties and can actually be more than one. So you'll get ones that start off as one color and then, gradient slowly into another color, sometimes even then to another color. So they'll be like tricolored or bicolored. So yeah, but this is just black, this one. But I do have my other tourmaline specimen B, and obviously, as you can see, it is pink tourmaline. So much more of a rare occurrence. I also showed off with my morganite some pink tourmaline crystals that were growing out of that piece. So yeah, pink tourmaline is a much more of a rarer variety, but not as rare as, say, bicolor or tricolored ones. You'll get like things like watermelon tourmaline, which is just, watermelon is the marketing name, but it's a bicolor where you got pink inside of it, like in the middle, but green growing like around it. So it looks like, slices of watermelon, which is kind of cool too. Then I have my tourmaline with albite growth specimen. So yeah, it's basically just another black tourmaline, but with a little bit of albite to, change it up, I guess. But that's not all. I have this tourmaline on albite with lepidolite growth specimen, and as you can see, this tourmaline is a bluish green, which is just really pretty. This one definitely, isn't common either. Maybe even less common than pink even. But yeah, you even have some lepidolite, which is like the mica, right? Shimmer over here. And all this albite as well that it kind of grew out of. And not done yet with the tourmalines, because I have this tourmaline with aquamarine and lepidolite growth specimen. So this might look black, this tourmaline, but it's not. It's not great quality either. It's green tourmaline, not black. But even though it's of a lower quality, the cool thing about this one is that it is got covered in lepidolite mica, as well as obviously the aquamarine, right? Definitely cool combination of all three. So definitely had to pick this up. So the next thing I have is this turgite specimen. So what is turgite? Well, it's characterized as mixtures of microcrystalline hematite and goethite with amorphous hydroxide as a coating. on top of matrix, right? So yeah, it's definitely fragile, flaky, so don't touch it or else you're gonna ruin it. But yeah, it's really, really pretty. So then I have this Vanadinite specimen. I love Vanadinite, by the way. I love the lobster red variety. Yes, lobster red. That's what it reminds me of. Cooked lobster red. It comes in, this orangey red, but also it could be more reddy brown, yellow, and yellowish straw to yellowish orange kind of color. And yeah, I think it's really pretty. It is a secondary lead chlorovanadinate and is pretty much always found in the oxidization zone of lead deposits in arid climates, resulting from the alteration of vanadium-bearing sulfates and silicates of different rocks. So, yeah, very pretty. And usually actually not too expensive, too, this one. So, again, if you are looking for something a little bit unique, that's not going to cost you a fortune. This one's one, again, to look out for. Stillbite's probably going to be a little bit more cheaper, by the way. But this one also I find to be usually a really great price for such a pretty crystal. So I'm going to show these two specimens together as I talk to you about it. And by the way, this is my number one favorite crystal mineral of all time. Top tier, cream of the crop, I believe, in my opinion. And that is this Vivianite specimen. So this Vivianite specimen A. And I also have Vivianite specimen B. So, yeah, pretty big size because it is a rare mineral for bigger crystals, right? It's a lot more common to be in smaller quantities. But what is Vivianite? Well, first off, it's a crystal that is colorless and transparent until, when it's like fresh, until it hits light, quickly turning to a pale to deep blue-green or green-blue, right? It's very pretty, and it's very, very soft, by the way. It has a hardness of 1.5. So it's very fragile. So be very, very gentle with it. Yeah. So just make sure not to leave it out in light, okay? Like expose it to a lot of sunlight or anything because, well, yeah, once it hits light, it gets a little bit deeper and it gets this really beautiful color. If it's never stable, right, in that aspect. So if you leave it out, it will eventually turn black and opaque. So you don't want that part. You want the nice color, the nice sort of greenish blue shimmer that it is known for. One of the interesting things is due to the fact of how it grows. Because, okay, so it's also nicknamed the corpse crystal. So, yes, corpse crystal, and there's a really good reason why. Vivianite is a hydrated iron phosphate mineral, right? So, due to decomposition, right? So, the chemical reactions is what creates Vivianite, right? So, when a body decomposes, it does release phosphate from bones and tissues, right, as it's decomposing. And so, if the environmental conditions are one with, you got lots of iron, so let's say iron-rich soils, or like if there was a burial of a body with lots of iron, like say someone putting them in like say garb, like that have a lot of iron in it, then when the body decomposes, that iron leaches alongside with it if it's moist. So you also need a lot of moisture if it's a wet environment. So that moisture and the iron leaching alongside the phosphate that is released when the body starts to decompose is what forms Vivianite. So yeah, it's found on dead bodies. So hence why the nickname the corpse crystal, which gross but really kind of cool. So the next two specimens are the same basically. So I'm going to show them together. Note that this is going to be the last specimens I show. So, and that is this, or these Wellow Opal specimens. We got A and we got B. So, I don't want to get too in-depth with opal because it is a fascinating deep dive, but that would take a long time. So, opal actually is not technically a mineral, it's a mineraloid. And they are in different sort of groupings that kind of overlap with each other in certain ways. And yeah, some of them can even like transform to the next under certain conditions. It's a long thing. But they do appear to be, the different varieties do appear very different from each other. I've already shown you different carved opal. I've shown you the almost water-like globular fluorescent opal, and now I'm showing you this Wellow opal. What is Wellow opal? Well, it's just... Okay, so it comes out of Ethiopia in the Wellow region. That's why it's Wellow. It's more specific to where it comes from, is why it's named that way. But generally speaking, it's a precious opal, right? That type of opal is what you usually get when you have jewelry. And it has that opalescence, that sort of, Schiller effect, I guess, where it's like got like different colors that sort of glimmer and sparkle, right? Opalescence. So that type of opal is precious opal, but it only comes in a certain places, and so usually people will give it the name of the place that it came from. So that's in this case. So very, very pretty, expensive, but pretty. And yeah, Ethiopian opal is really, really gorgeous. And yeah, there's not really much to say on it because to explain would just be tiresome. So if you want to learn more, go to Mindat or Mindat, however it's pronounced, .org. I will link that in the description below. All right? All right. And oh my goodness, we are done. That is everything. So thanks for watching. If you watched all the parts, you're incredible because it's a lot. But I am ready for some unboxing of new mineral and crystals. So yeah, thank you again, and like, comment, and subscribe. And I will see you later for those unboxings. Bye!